Hands behind your back. People like you never learn. The officer's voice sliced through the busy downtown street. In seconds, the black woman in a simple blazer and jeans found herself shoved against a squad car, her purse spilling onto the pavement as strangers gasped and phones lifted into the air. He smirked, tightening the cuffs like he'd won. What he didn't know was that the woman he just humiliated wasn't running from the law. She was the law. It was a bright Saturday morning in the heart of the city. Vendors lined the sidewalks, children clutched balloons, and buskers played guitar on the corners. The hum of life carried across the block until the sharp bark of authority cracked through it. "Stop right there!" Heads turned. Conversations faltered. Officer Bradley Kane, mid-40s, tall and broad with pale skin, a square jaw and a buzz cut, stormed down the sidewalk in full Navy uniform, boots pounding like a drumbeat. His mirrored sunglasses reflected the crowd as he pointed at a black woman near a cafe patio. "Ma'am," he barked, "drop the bag. Hands where I can see them." The woman froze mid-step. She was in her early 30s, tall and graceful, with warm brown skin and shoulder-length straightened hair. She wore a fitted navy blazer over a white blouse, dark jeans and low heels, professional, composed, out for a quiet morning coffee. A leather purse rested on her shoulder. "I'm sorry?" she asked, her voice calm but puzzled. Bradley didn't slow. He grabbed her arm roughly, yanking the purse off her shoulder so hard it hit the ground, spilling papers, keys, and a wallet. Onto the sidewalk, gasps echoed as bystanders stopped to watch. Suspicious activity. "Shoplifting reports match your description," he announced loudly, making sure the crowd heard. "Hands behind your back." Her eyes widened. "Shoplifting? That's a mistake." He cut her off with a shove against the squad car parked at the curb. Metal clanged as her palms hit the hood. The crowd murmured louder, some whispering, some lifting their phones to record. A man muttered, "She doesn't look like a thief." Another scoffed, "Looks guilty to me." Bradley smirked as the cuffs clicked around her wrists. "I've been on the force 20 years. I know when someone's lying." The woman drew in a slow, steady breath, even as humiliation burned in her chest. "Officer, you're making a mistake." "Doubt it," he sneered. He leaned close enough that only she could hear the venom in his tone. "Your type always plays innocent until we catch you." The words cut deeper than the steel digging into her wrists. Phones angled closer. A teenager whispered to his friend, "She's done for." But the woman didn't argue, didn't cry, didn't shout. She looked at her belongings scattered on the sidewalk, one item half hidden under her wallet. A slim, black leather case snapped shut. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "Are you sure you want to do this here, in front of everyone?" Bradley barked a laugh, raising his voice again. "Everyone watching, remember this. No one is above the law." The crowd murmured their agreement, nodding, filming. What? None of them knew. What not even Bradley knew was that the woman cuffed against the hood wasn't a shoplifter, wasn't powerless, and wasn't someone to be humiliated. She was Special Agent Naomi Harris, and inside that black leather case was her FBI badge, the same badge that was about to flip the entire plaza upside down. The cuffs bit into Naomi's wrists with a metallic bite, tighter than necessary, each notch a deliberate act of humiliation. Officer Bradley Kane pressed her firmly against the hood of the squad car, his chest puffed high, the picture of control, or at least the kind of control he wanted the public to see. Around them, the plaza was no longer just a busy Saturday morning. It had transformed into a stage. Shoppers paused mid-step. Parents pulled children closer, and a sea of smartphones lifted into the air, lenses unblinking. Whispers began to ripple outward like waves. "She doesn't look like a thief." "Come on, if the cop cuffed her. She must have done something." No, I saw." He grabbed her out of nowhere. Bradley thrived on the attention. He raised his voice, making sure every camera captured his authority. "See this, folks?" he barked, tugging Naomi's arms higher than necessary. This is what happens when people think they can play games with the law. Doesn't matter. How you dress it up, wrong is wrong. And today you got caught. A few nervous chuckles escaped from the crowd. A man in a baseball cap clapped twice, muttering, "About time someone stood up to these people." Others weren't laughing. They shifted uncomfortably, whispering to each other, unsure of what they were seeing. Naomi's purse still lay scattered on the pavement, its contents, a wallet, papers, a slim black leather case, half hidden under the shadow of the car. She glanced at it briefly, then steadied her breathing. Her voice, when it came, was calm. "Officer, you're making a mistake," Bradley sneered, leaning closer so his sunglasses reflected her face back at her. "They all say that, every single one." His tone dripped with satisfaction. "But let me tell you something, lady. You're not walking away from this one. Not with me here." Her jaw clenched, but her composure didn't crack. "I asked you once already. Are you sure you want to do this here, in front of everyone?" Barked out a laugh, throwing his free hand wide to the crowd, as if conducting them. "Here, of course here. Public accountability, right? People need to see that actions have consequences. You steal, you lie, you cheat. You get the cuffs." Gasps fluttered through the plaza. The accusation was vague, flimsy, and yet spoken with such conviction that some in the crowd nodded without question. "Did she really steal something?" a young woman whispered, frowning. "No way. Look at her. She looks professional." Another answered. "Professional or not, she's cuffed now," someone else added. The tension thickened like humidity before a storm. Naomi shifted slightly, the cuffs rattling softly. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't beg. Her calm unsettled more people than her words. A teenager with curly hair whispered into his phone camera, "Yo, she's not even fighting back. She's too calm. Something's not right here." Bradley noticed the crowd's hesitation and redoubled his performance. He shoved her shoulder once more against the hood, louder than necessary, metal ringing. "Move along, people. Nothing to see here except another criminal caught red-handed. Get your videos if you want, but remember, this is what happens when you think you're above the law." Some clapped again, others booed, and a few shouted back, "She wasn't doing anything. You grabbed her for no reason. This is harassment." Bradley turned toward them, his jaw set. "Keep recording. I've been a cop 20 years. I can spot trouble a mile away, and I don't need a lecture from bystanders who don't know what enforcement looks like." Then he turned back to Naomi, his voice dropping low enough for only she and the phones closest could hear. "You people always think you can talk your way out. Not this time." The phrase, "you people," didn't just sting. It echoed, loud enough that gasps tore through the circle of onlookers. A woman in the crowd covered her mouth, shaking her head. A man shouted, "Did you hear that? He just said it." Phones zoomed in, catching every detail. Naomi's lips curved into the faintest, calmest smile. "Words like that, officer," she said softly, "don't disappear. Not anymore. Everyone here just heard you." Bradley stiffened, realizing too late the shift in the crowd. Uneasy murmurs turned into anger. Some people booed outright now. "Racist. She didn't even resist. This is abuse." Bradley's nostrils flared. He tugged on Naomi's cuffs again, forcing her upright, turning her so the cameras caught her face. "You hear them?" he asked smugly. "They're already judging you. They don't see calm. They see guilty." But Naomi's eyes didn't waver. She tilted her head slightly, her calm like stone in a storm. "Or maybe," she said, "they're judging you." The words hit harder than a shout. The crowd erupted louder, now fully split, some cheering her, others jeering him. The air felt electric, heavy with anticipation. Bradley bent down, grabbing her scattered belongings. He shook her wallet in the air like proof. "Let's see what kind of ID you've got, huh? Fake names, fake licenses? Criminals always slip up somewhere." The crowd pressed closer, phones raised higher. The murmurs sharpened into sharp whispers. "She doesn't look worried at all." "What's in the case under the wallet?" Yo, zoom in. Looks like some kind of badge. Bradley crouched, snatched up the slim black case, and smirked triumphantly. What's this? Your little stash of excuses. He held it up theatrically, the gold trim catching the sunlight. Naomi's eyes locked on his, calm and unwavering. Open it. Bradley hesitated, just for a second. The crowd caught it, gasping, murmuring louder. What's he waiting for? Open it already. Oh man, he's about to regret this. Bradley's pride wouldn't let him stop. He snapped the case open with exaggerated force, and then he saw it. The golden seal. The bold letters. The title that froze his smirk in place. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Special Agent. Naomi Harris. The air sucked out of the plaza. A collective gasp, sharp and unanimous, rolled through the crowd. Naomi tilted her head slightly, her voice calm as a blade. Now, officer, are you going to finish this arrest, or apologize in front of all these witnesses? Bradley's face drained of color. The badge gleamed in his trembling hand, and for the first time the man who had fed on humiliation realized it wasn't the woman in cuffs who had been trapped. It was him. The plaza, moments ago filled with smug chuckles and nervous whispers, fell into a stunned silence. All eyes were fixed on the badge, gleaming in Officer Bradley Kane's trembling hand. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Agent, Naomi Harris. The crowd gasped, then erupted. Oh my God, she's FBI! He cuffed an agent! This dude's career is over. Phones shot closer, zooming in to catch every detail. The trembling officer, the calm woman in cuffs, the golden seal that turned the whole narrative upside down. Naomi straightened, her wrists still bound, but her dignity towering. Officer Kane, she said evenly, her voice carrying above the crowd. You've just assaulted a federal agent in public. You've cuffed me without cause, humiliated me in front of witnesses, and made racial remarks. Do you realize the gravity of what you've done? The words cut through him like knives. Bradley's mouth opened, but no words came out. He stammered, then tried to force his voice into authority. This can't be real. It's a fake badge. A trick. Naomi's lips curved into a cool, razor-edged smile. You're welcome. To verify it with headquarters. The crowd booed him. Someone shouted, check it then. Another yelled, you said no one was above the law, right? Bradley's cheeks burned red. Sweat trickled down his temples. He adjusted his sunglasses, trying to mask his panic, but his hands shook. Naomi, still cuffed, turned slightly toward the crowd. You've all seen it. You've recorded it. Remember every word he said, because this isn't just about me. It's about how quickly people believe humiliation is truth. The crowd cheered, many nodding in agreement. Bradley grabbed at control. Again, his voice rising. This doesn't change the fact you matched the suspect description. I was doing my job. Naomi's eyes narrowed. Your job doesn't include slamming innocent people against cars or throwing racial slurs. Your job is to protect and serve. And right now, all these witnesses can confirm you did neither. The silence that followed was devastating. The only sound was the chorus of phones buzzing with live stream comments. From the back, a teenager shouted, Bro, my live is at 12,000 views right now. They're roasting you, man. Bradley's jaw locked. He yanked the badge closed and threw it back toward Naomi's belongings, as if refusing to acknowledge it. You think a title makes you untouchable? Doesn't matter if you're FBI. Here, I'm in charge. The arrogance cracked through his panic, and it was the wrong move. The crowd erupted again, this time angrier. She's FBI, idiot. Uncuff her. You're finished. Naomi's composure didn't falter. Then let me be clear, she said, her voice cutting sharp as a gavel strike. As of this moment, you are interfering with federal operations, obstructing justice and unlawfully detaining a federal agent. Do you want me to call my supervisor, or would you prefer to keep digging your own grave? Her tone wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It carried weight, authority, finality. Bradley looked around desperately, at the crowd that had turned against him, at the dozens of cameras recording his every twitch, at the badge that had already sealed his fate. His authority was evaporating, in real time, yet pride wouldn't let him back down. "Fine, we'll call it in." He waved at his partner across the plaza, a younger officer frozen near their second squad car. "Get over here." The partner, Officer Ruiz, jogged over hesitantly. He looked at Naomi, then at the badge glinting beside her wallet, then at Bradley's red face. His eyes widened. "Bradley, she's FBI?" Naomi nodded calmly. "Special. Agent Naomi Harris. Would you like to confirm it yourself?" Ruiz swallowed hard. Yes, ma'am." He picked up the case, inspected it closely, and the color drained from his face. "It's real. Oh my God." The crowd roared. Cheers, shouts, laughter at Bradley's expense. Someone yelled, "Game over!" Another laughed, "He cuffed the wrong one." Ruiz fumbled with the keys, rushing to unlock Naomi's cuffs. The metal clinked as they fell away, leaving faint red marks on her wrists. She rubbed them briefly, then stood tall, adjusting her blazer with quiet dignity. The energy in the plaza shifted completely. Where moments ago she had been the humiliated victim, now she stood revealed as the ultimate authority. Naomi looked Bradley dead in the eyes. "You said no one was above the law. For once you're right. That includes you." The words hit like a hammer. Bradley's mouth opened, closed, then opened again, but nothing came out. His confidence, his smirk, his swagger, it had all crumbled. The crowd began chanting again. "Apologize! Apologize! Apologize!" Bradley shook his head, his voice trembling. This is a misunderstanding. I was only doing my job." Naomi stepped closer, her voice low but deadly. "Your job doesn't give you the right to strip people of their dignity in public. Your job doesn't give you the right to let prejudice guide your actions. And your job definitely doesn't give you the right to put hands on a federal agent." The chant grew louder, drowning him out. "Apologize! Apologize!" Bradley's face twisted, his pride crumbling under the weight of humiliation. He glanced around, wildly, searching for allies, but found none. His partner looked ashamed. The crowd was united against him. And Naomi? She stood unshaken, every inch the authority figure he had tried to be. Finally, his shoulders slumped. His voice cracked. "I apologize." The crowd exploded. Cheers, whistles, applause. Phones shot higher to capture his collapse. Naomi's eyes stayed locked on him. "Not to me. To them." She gestured to the crowd. "To every single person who watched you abuse your badge today." Bradley's lips trembled. I'm sorry," he said weakly. The crowd booed the weakness. A woman shouted, "Louder!" A man echoed, "Say it like you mean it." Naomi crossed her arms, waiting. Bradley clenched his jaw, then shouted, hoarsely, "I'm sorry." The plaza erupted again, this time not in humiliation, but in vindication. Naomi stood tall, her badge in one hand, the broken cuffs in the other, a living symbol of truth outlasting arrogance. And for the first time that day, it wasn't Bradley who owned the plaza. It was her. The roar of the crowd echoed off glass storefronts, a tidal wave of vindication crashing against Officer Bradley Kane. He stood rigid, his cheeks flushed crimson, his jaw locked as the word sorry still lingered in the air. But the way the plaza watched him, every phone raised, every eye sharp with judgment, made it clear the apology hadn't been enough. Naomi Harris stood tall in the center of it all, her wrists free, her badge gleaming like sunlight through storm clouds. She no longer looked like the woman cuffed to a hood. She looked like the force that commanded the room without raising her voice. Bradley tried to straighten his posture, his voice shaky but desperate. "This was a misunderstanding. Let's de-escalate. No need to blow this out of proportion." The crowd laughed bitterly. A man shouted, "Too late for that!" Another jeered, "You were real loud when you called her a criminal. Keep that same energy now." Naomi let the noise swell before raising a single hand. The crowd quieted almost instantly. Authority radiated from her in a way Bradley could never fake. "Officer Kane," she said evenly, "this isn't just about me. It's about every person you've judged, every time you use that badge to shame instead of serve. Today you picked the wrong target and you exposed yourself." Gasps rippled again, phones zooming closer. Bradley shook his head furiously. "That's not fair. You don't know me. I've served this city 20 years. Naomi's eyes didn't flinch. "I know what I experienced. I know what every person here just witnessed. And I know the weight of your words when you said, 'You people.'" The words hit like a slap. The crowd erupted, booing, shouting, chanting, "Fire him! Fire him!" Bradley's partner, Officer Ruiz, hovered nearby, pale and nervous. "Agent Harris," he stammered, "maybe we should take this to the station, discuss it quietly." Naomi turned to him, her gaze sharp but measured. "Quietly? After he paraded me across this plaza? After he put me in cuffs in front of children, elders, and cameras? No, this doesn't get buried in a back office. Accountability doesn't hide. It stands right here." The cheer that followed rattled the glass windows of the cafe behind them. Naomi pulled out her phone, scrolling quickly. Her voice was calm, steady, deliberate. "You all heard him. You saw him. Now Internal Affairs is going to see him too." She pressed a number and lifted the phone to her ear. Bradley's composure shattered. "Wait, hold on. This doesn't need IA. We can handle this in-house. I'll file a report, issue an apology, training, whatever it takes." Naomi ignored him. "This is Special Agent Naomi Harris, badge number 4721. I need an immediate response unit at 4th and Main. An officer has unlawfully detained and assaulted a federal agent. I'm requesting Internal Affairs on site." The crowd roared approval. Bradley's face drained of blood. You can't do this," he sputtered. Naomi turned slowly, her gaze unblinking. "I already did." Phones recorded his every twitch, every bead of sweat. His hands fidgeted at his belt, at the useless cuffs dangling there. He looked less like an officer now, and more like a man caught with no exit. 10 minutes later, the sound of new sirens pierced the plaza. Black sedans pulled up, not patrol cars, sleek, tinted, official. From them emerged a team in dark suits, badges flashing gold and silver. Internal Affairs. The crowd parted like water, buzzing with disbelief. "She actually called them here. This is insane. It's happening live." A tall investigator strode forward, clipboard in hand, expression stone cold. "Special Agent Harris." Naomi stepped forward, presenting her badge calmly. "That's me. This officer unlawfully cuffed me without probable cause, used racial slurs and humiliated me in public. Witnesses everywhere. Dozens of recordings." She gestured to the sea, a vone surrounding them. The investigator nodded sharply. "We'll take it from here." He turned to Bradley. "Officer Kane, you are relieved of duty pending investigation. Hand over your badge and weapon." The words sucked the air out of the plaza. Gasps, shouts, cheers, it all blended into one electric current of disbelief. Bradley froze, his face ashen. "Relieved? You can't just—" "Now," the investigator repeated firmly. Naomi crossed her arms, watching him. Bradley's hand shook as he unclipped the badge he had once flaunted, unholstering his weapon with jerky movements. He placed both in the investigator's waiting hands. The symbol of authority he'd abused stripped away in seconds. The crowd erupted, applause, whistles, chants of "Justice! Justice!" Naomi didn't gloat. She didn't need to. Her voice cut through the noise with quiet dignity. "You wanted the crowd to remember me as a criminal. Instead, they'll remember you as the officer who tried to break the wrong woman." Bradley's lips trembled, but no words came. Ruiz looked down, ashamed. He whispered, "Agent Harris, I'm sorry. I should have stepped in." Naomi's gaze softened briefly. "Then step in next time. Don't wait until it's safe." The investigator signaled, and 2 officers in plain clothes moved to escort Bradley away. The crowd followed with their cameras, documenting every step of his humiliation. His swagger was gone. His head hung low. For the first time, he looked like the one in cuffs. Naomi turned back to the plaza. Hundreds of eyes stayed fixed on her. She lifted her chin, her voice calm but resonant. "Let this be a reminder. A badge is not a shield for arrogance. It's a responsibility. Abuse it, and it will be taken away, just like it was today." The applause that followed shook the plaza, louder than sirens, louder than Bradley's earlier boasts. And as the internal affairs vehicle pulled away, carrying Bradley toward the station he once thought he ruled, the truth was undeniable. The man who tried to humiliate her was finished. The woman he tried to shame was stronger than ever. The plaza buzzed long after the internal affairs vehicles disappeared down Main Street. What had started as an ordinary Saturday had transformed into something unforgettable, an unmasking, a reckoning, a reversal of power no one present would forget. Naomi Harris stood at the center of it all, her wrists still marked with faint, red impressions from the cuffs. She rubbed them once, then let her hands fall calmly at her sides. The badge case lay open on the hood of the squad car, the golden seal glinting like truth in the sunlight. The crowd, though noisy, was no longer jeering or laughing. They were waiting, watching her. A woman in the front, still clutching her phone, whispered she handled all that without even raising her voice. A man beside her muttered, "That cop looked powerful 5 minutes ago. Now he looks like a fool." Someone else added, "That's what real strength looks like." Naomi took a slow breath. Then she stepped forward, her heels clicking against the pavement with quiet certainty. She didn't shout, she didn't grandstand. She simply spoke, and the crowd leaned in to listen. "You all saw what happened here today," she began, her tone calm but resonant. "You saw how quickly judgment can turn into humiliation, how a badge can be used to strip dignity instead of protect it. And you saw what happens when truth finally comes to light." The murmurs quieted, a hush spreading across the plaza. Children leaned against their parents. Strangers shifted closer, and phones tilted up higher. Naomi continued, her gaze sweeping the faces before her. "This isn't about me being FBI. It isn't even about one officer making a mistake. It's about how easily people believe the worst when they see someone vulnerable, someone who looks like they don't belong. Some of you here believed him. Some of you laughed. Some of you filmed, waiting to see humiliation play out." Several people lowered their phones, guilt flickering in their eyes. Naomi didn't soften her words, but her tone carried something more than reprimand. It carried weight, responsibility. You owe it to yourselves and to each other to ask why. Why was it so easy to believe I was guilty? Why was it so easy to cheer for someone's shame? A silence stretched, thick with self-reflection. Naomi straightened, her badge glinting, at her side. "Remember this. Power isn't loud. It doesn't shove. It doesn't humiliate. It doesn't feed on crowds. Real power is quiet. It's in restraint. It's in standing firm when someone tries to take your dignity. That's what carried me through this morning, and that's what will carry me through tomorrow." The words settled like anchors, grounding the plaza. A few people clapped, hesitant at first, then louder. Soon the entire square echoed with applause, not wild or raucous, but steady, meaningful. Naomi nodded once in acknowledgement, then bent down to gather her belongings from the ground. Papers, keys, her wallet, all scattered where Bradley had thrown them. She placed them carefully back into her purse. When her fingers brushed the cuffs lying on the hood, she paused. Slowly, deliberately, she picked them up, holding the cold steel high enough for the cameras to catch. "These," she said, her voice carrying again, were meant to shame me. But today they only shamed the one who misused them. Let that be the reminder you take away from this. Dignity isn't taken, it's revealed. The applause swelled, louder now, rolling across the plaza like thunder. A teenager near the front called out, "Agent Harris, you're a legend!" The crowd laughed, clapped harder. Naomi smiled faintly but didn't bask in it. Her focus was elsewhere, on the lesson that needed to land, not the praise. From the corner, Officer Ruiz stepped forward hesitantly. He looked younger without Bradley's shadow looming over him, but his guilt was written plain across his face. "Agent Harris," he said, voice low but audible in the quiet. "I should have stopped it sooner. I didn't, and I'm sorry." Naomi studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "What matters now is what you do next time. Don't wait for someone else to speak up when you know something's wrong. That silence is what gives arrogance power." Ruiz swallowed hard, nodding quickly, visibly chastened. The crowd began to thin as the sirens faded into distance, but many lingered, still talking, still recording, still buzzing about what they had just witnessed. Naomi adjusted her blazer, lifted her purse, and finally walked toward the edge of the plaza. Her steps were steady, unhurried. Each footfall was a declaration, not humiliated, not broken, dignity intact. At the curb, a little girl tugged at her mother's sleeve and pointed at Naomi. "Mommy," she whispered loudly, "is she a hero?" Her mother's eyes softened as she looked at Naomi, then down at her daughter. "Yes, she is." Naomi overheard but didn't turn back. She kept walking, her expression calm, her heart steady. This wasn't about being a hero. It was about making sure moments like this didn't get buried, about turning humiliation into a lesson the whole city could see. Back at her car, Naomi opened the door, slipped inside, and placed the badge case gently on the passenger seat. She stared at it for a moment, the gold seal glinting in the afternoon sun. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory, words she'd carried since childhood. "Power isn't proven by how you strike. It's proven by how you stand." Naomi smiled, faintly, starting the engine. As she pulled away, the plaza behind her still buzzed with voices, with recordings, with the echo of applause. And though the cuffs had left faint marks on her wrists, they had left none on her dignity, because the woman they tried to shame had walked away not just with her freedom, but with her power undisputed. And Officer Bradley Kane? His name would forever be remembered not for his authority, but for the moment the badge he misused was stripped from him by the very woman he tried to break.